Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, welcome to the Tony Onying Show, proudly brought to you by Glonton Foundation, your partner in responsible well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all aware, in the last episode, we've been looking at the narcissist personalities, and this is something in line with our focus on the mental health. So, from the previous shows, we did define who the narcissists are. We did look at relating with them, and of course, we also went through the impact of living with such people or relating with them, of course. So, in that scenario, we also got a bit of feedback from some of the viewers expressing what they're going through and how best we can help them. So, something that came out was in marriage, they have children, and nobody wants to leave the children to grow with a single parent. There could be an impact in the way they are brought up. On the other side, in the workplace, somebody's survival is on that job. So however tight the conditions might be, they still want to work. At the end of the day, there is a mental health aspect that is very fundamental. And so in today's show, ladies and gentlemen, our guest here, Mrs. Okello, is happy to take us through how best do we rebuild ourselves and break these trauma bonds so that we continue to keep our marriages and also to keep our job from which we earn our living. So, Mrs. Okello, please, the pleasure is ours.
Thank you so much, our dear moderator. Hi, our dear viewers. I believe that you've been following our episodes from the first, and the one for today is really amazing because you've been following and you're asking yourselves, after relating with this person, after understanding who a narcissist is, then what? But today we want to understand how we can break these trauma bonds. And honestly speaking, breaking these trauma bonds is not something simple, or rebuilding yourself is not something simple. It's a long journey that needs self rediscovery and resilience. But in this, you need to identify some few things that you can change in your life, in your daily routine. You can also identify the triggers of that trauma. Once you understand the triggers of that trauma, it is a very good thing for you to, to cope with it. And then also you build support system. You have different people that you can feel free to share with. Maybe your mentors, maybe your role model, it may be your friend, your close friend. Of course, in such a scenario, you don't share with everyone. Yeah, but there is at least that one person or two or three that you can easily share with, and sharing it out, it actually helps you to heal faster. Like we said, it takes long to heal from that trauma bond, but the more you share it, the more you get relieved and you get help. And you can join these support systems like mentorship programs, listening to such programs that we share on YouTube. And it's not every topic that they share you have to listen just because you're going through that trauma bond. We talked about it in our last episodes that it is okay to learn and unlearn. It is okay to choose what you want to listen to and what you don't want to listen to. But all in all, you need to heal. You need to heal to come out of that trauma.
Maybe before I forget, I would need you to help us understand. There is always this confusion of whether they are strict bosses, they are strict parents, and then we have the narcissists. So are strict bosses narcissists, and narcissists strict bosses? Maybe you can also help us understand.
Actually, I was coming to that. You see, when we talked of narcissists, we normally confuse this. So there is a strict boss and there is a narcissist. And don't see your boss being strict and you say that my boss is a narcissist. Don't see your employee being strict and you say, I employed this person, but the way he acts, I don't understand. But that person is trying to be perfect. Okay. You know, there are some people that are really perfect in life.
Yeah.
They want to do everything perfectly well. Whether you're my boss, but I would want to present a good report. So me being strict, sending you emails, following up, does not make me become a narcissist. Because we identified the signs in one of our episodes, how to identify that this person is a narcissist. Yeah, so you can go back and check on our episodes and see the different kind of people that we talked about that you live with. So like you said, even can be in families. This is your husband. The husband is trying to be strict. Let me say there are some rules that he put in a home, like this is before we sleep we have to pray. Before no one should enter my house before past 7. Like those are the rules that a strict person can put. But don't see someone putting such rules and you say, oh, I married a narcissist, or the wife I married is a narcissist. Because if you have set rules that let's all agree, if we are to have a meal, this is what we're supposed to have today, this is what we're supposed to have tomorrow. And if I find you have not done it, honestly, if I'm complaining or if I'm asking you why, don't say that I'm a narcissist. So we need to draw a line and have and know the difference between a narcissist and a strict person.
I think that's very clear, Mrs. Okello. So I'm just borrowing from one of the lines you sent me, and that was talking about reclaiming your narrative, where just in your own words, you did talk about sometimes we don't need to try to change these people. We need to try to focus on self-care.
Yes,
we need to try to focus on self-approval and more so healing our internal damage. And I think from the perspective of breaking the trauma bonds, she tells us rightly that it's important for us to, talk to colleagues, talk to friends. So as you talk to friends, you will realize that probably they have been dealing with such a situation longer than you have.
And create those daily routines.
So at the end of the day, it is likely to help you heal faster and maybe also change the way you look at things. So thank you so much, Mrs. Okello, for that. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that should be able to help us. But above all, God is very key in all this. Let's not forget God to pray about it.
And maybe what I can also talk about, remember in our episode, there is where we mentioned that if you cannot be able to live with this person, you leave. If you cannot to handle that job, don't stay. But then there's a point where you're planning to leave and they change their boss.
Yes.
And they bring a new boss. And you're asking yourself, how do I now start relating with this person? Because you're thinking that all bosses are narcissists, or you're thinking that all men are narcissists, or you're thinking that all women are narcissists. So these steps that we've shared, they will help you to rebuild yourself so that you fit in.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've gotten this man, remember where you were before. It was different, and you're not going to immediately make that person understand you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. And maybe to just add on that, I remember a colleague who shared with me an experience that he once met with a boss whom he thought was actually a narcissist. And then he asked himself that, hey, look, this is a very great organization. How can a great organization that cares about people's well-being employ such kind of people? So he sat back and asked himself, this boss has been here for 15 to 20 years. So maybe I need some time to revisit my perception about him. And maybe if it means he went on and went to YouTube, he went to read about it, and when he came back, he changed his approach. That maybe like you advise us, probably ask yourself, are you always submitting the report they're asking for?
Yeah.
Are you sending the emails on time? Are you coming to office on time? Why is it you, and why is he acting differently from the rest of the team? So I think the key pointer here is we shouldn't be quick to decide, but we also need to ask ourselves whether we are actually making good use of the different resources around us. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe as we conclude, I could ask Mrs. Okello for a parting shot.
Okay. Maybe what I can leave with our dear viewers, there is a line that I noted down, that healing isn't linear, but some days may feel you're making a progress, and other days may look like a setback. But what you need to do is those both parts, setback and progress, you need to balance them.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to balance all those shifts towards your strength and peace, because like we all stand on, your mental health matters.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think you've said it all. The mental health is the engine that drives your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Tony Onying Show, and we ask you to subscribe and continue to enjoy our future episodes. Thank you very much, and may the good Lord bless you.